Good afternoon. I'm Liza Holland, a member of the League of Women Voters of Lexington, and I'm going to be serving as the moderator for this forum for candidates for LFUCG City Council District 3. The League of Women Voters of Lexington and the Lexington Nonprofit Coalition, a group of over 50 charitable nonprofit organizations, are sponsors for this event. There are two candidates for this District 3 council seat. They are Hannah LeGris and Jessica Moller. Welcome. We are following the League of Women Voters policies and procedures for this forum. In order to give the candidates a fair chance to be heard, we have randomly drawn via random.org for the order of opening remarks and questions, and a second time for the order of closing remarks. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to introduce themselves and 60 seconds to respond to questions. Questions have been created by the sponsors, and we have also taken submissions from the public. Finally, we will give each candidate 60 seconds for closing remarks. We will begin now with opening comments. The candidates will go in order of the first drawing. First will be Hannah LeGris, and second will be Jessica Moller. So, first, will we hear from Hannah? Ms. LeGris, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you so much. Hello to everybody watching, and thank you to the League of Women Voters. My name is Hannah LeGris, and I'm running for 3rd District City Council. Social justice and civic engagement have been central to my life, and I know the value in having leaders who are creative, committed, and fully invested in our city. I moved here 12 years ago as an AmeriCorps Vista to do poverty fighting work at the Carnegie Center. And now I'm an educator and career counselor at the University of Kentucky, where I help students connect their career plans to their social values. And for the past 10 years, I've worked with young people to get them connected to our community. We're in a time of challenge and opportunity, a time when we need strong, compassionate leaders who are dedicated to real results. I want to translate my investment in Lexington and my desire to connect, listen to, and empower people into public service as your 3rd District City Council person. I look forward to your questions, and I'll work hard to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Moller.
Hi, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, and for all your members and viewers for being civically engaged and listening. My name is Jessica Moller, but most people call me Jess. I'm a longtime resident of Lexington's 3rd District and became a homeowner in 2009 when we moved to Memory Lane. I'm a mother of 2 young children, and I'm married to my college sweetheart, Daniel. I have 20 years experience working in Lexington's nonprofit, arts, and media sectors, and for the last 11 years is the Director of Marketing and Communications for the Carnegie Center. I'm running for Lexington's 3rd District because as a nonprofit director, I have seen the effects of the gaping holes in government and social services. As a former restaurant server and freelance writer, I know the hardships of low-wage work and finding affordable housing. I'm running because as a mother of 2 young children who loses half of her paycheck to childcare, I want to create a better community for future generations. I have worked as a writer, a fundraiser, a legislative aide, and I have served as an assistant press attaché for the Embassy of Croatia. I have seen our government and its many nuances through different lenses. I'm equipped with diverse experiences on the local, state, and national level, and my informed and compassionate perspective will guide my decision-making.
Thank you so much. Ms. Moller, you will now be able to take the first question. What do you see as the single most important issue facing your district, and what is your plan to address that issue?
So from the beginning, I have focused on growth, and I think growth is such an important issue for the 3rd District because with growth becomes disparities. We have economic segregation in our neighborhoods and our school districts, affordable housing, historic neighborhoods, being able to maintain their character and charm. And so making sure that we grow in a smart and equitable way is really important. And those issues are only compounded in a pandemic when economic inequality, people losing their jobs are harder than ever. So I will continue to focus on smart growth and make sure we have a smart and equitable framework in place for Lexington.
Wonderful. Ms. LeGris, what do you see as the single most important issue facing your district, and what is your plan to address the issue?
I believe that the most important issue facing our district is the same one that faces our city and our nation. We have an economic downturn and a budgetary crisis. And I know that together we're going to have to find solutions so that we can take care of people and overcome this time of challenge. I believe that economic recovery is something that we can do together. We have done a great job thus far in terms of supporting affordable housing, for example, and taking care of our residents in terms of social services. We've got to continue that work. I also believe that small business recovery and supporting our local entrepreneurs is incredibly important. I believe that we can create a small business recovery fund and that we can work together with our entrepreneurs to make sure that they're supported, and as a result, the rest of the people in our community are as well, in terms of keeping people safe, healthcare, housing, and circulating funds within our community. Thank you.
Thank you. You will go ahead and take this next question first. Recent unrest across the country and in Kentucky related to the death of Black men and women at the hands of police have led to calls for changes in funding for and policies guiding policing. As a member of the council, what do you think you would like to do to address these critical challenges?
Like many of you, I'm deeply saddened and grieving for the unnecessary deaths of people across our community. We've seen protests calling for accountability and change, and reassessment of the role of police. We ask a lot of our police. We ask them to be warriors and social workers. And in this period of time, we're seeing a call for reassessment. I believe that we can work together to make sure that with police, we find opportunities so that our residents are supported, so that people fully feel safe in their community, and that we're providing areas of trust and support in the process. Community-led efforts will be key, as will sunshine rules and increased accountability. Those are initiatives that I would work hard to further on council. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and making sure that all people have a voice is very important to me.
Thank you so very much. Ms. Moller, same question to you.
Yes, so like the rest of the country, I too am mourning yet another death by a police officer of one of our Black residents. Racial injustice has been the seminal issue of our country since its inception, and I will always listen to and follow the lead of those most directly impacted by racial inequality. City Council sets the tone for how welcoming and inclusive Lexington is, and I'm committed to fully understanding and rebutting our government's role in facilitating race-based inequality. One way I would like to reflect this value as a council member is to support the demands by the NAACP and our local Black faith leaders that Lexington aim for 15% minority representation. And with the police force, I think that we have a great opportunity to work together on issues of policy and not policing that really impact the community safety. Our root issues are best dealt with our nonprofits and experts on the ground who understand these communities, and the structural racist policies that police inherited is not fair for them to manage on their own.
Thank you so much. That actually segues very nicely into our next question, which you will take first. This is from our partner, the Lexington Nonprofit Coalition. At a time of crisis with COVID-19 pandemic and calls to address racial and social injustice, nonprofits have stepped up in providing crucial services for the Lexington community. At the same time, nonprofit partnerships with the city were cut from the mayor's proposed budget, although some were later restored by the Urban County Council. What is your position on the city's future agreements and partnerships with nonprofits to deliver needed services, enrichment opportunities, and more that ensure a safe, thriving community for all Lexington residents? How would you support nonprofits in doing this?
Well, I think the interplay right now between citizens, business, owners, nonprofits, and governments has never been more important. And Lexington's greatest asset is our people. So listening to nonprofit directors and small business owners as we enter into this phase of recovery is really important. The ESR grants directly supported organizations that were deemed essential. I work for one of those organizations, and I was one of those organizations who actually was zeroed out of this year's ESR funding. $85,000 was taken from the Carnegie Center's budget, which translates to 250 kids in our tutoring program. This is a time when the achievement gap, which I prefer to call the opportunity or the poverty gap, is growing. And so taking services away from education, I don't believe is the right way to do it. You know, moving forward, working with the mayor's office and entities like Commerce Lexington and our nonprofits to invest in the communities doing the good work on the ground, I think is just going to make us a stronger, more resilient city.
Thank you so much. Ms. LeGris.
I believe that it's essential to keep people housed, to keep them safe, and to provide them with opportunities, economic and educational. Our nonprofit sector is essential in that process. I believe that we should continue to fully fund many of our programs that support our diverse needs within our communities. These programs fill the social safety net and fill gaps within Lexington that are essential. And we're talking about for our young people and people who have been marginalized and who need additional support so that they can have a high quality of life. I believe that nonprofits are essential partners to the city. And I would work hard to make sure that we had meaningful relationships with nonprofits and that those relationships were supported, because in turn, they support our people and provide them with chances to do well and live well.
Thank you so much. And you will take this next question first. This is from another one of our partners, the Lexington Fairness Coalition. In 2019, Lexington's LGBTQ+ protections were scored at 93 out of 100 by the Human Rights Campaign Equality Index score. If elected to council, would you support offering trans-inclusive health coverage for city employees and passage of an ordinance to ban conversion therapy? Both would help us to improve our score to 100. Why or why not?
Thank you. I'm so glad that this question was submitted. I've been endorsed by CFAIR, and CFAIR is all about LGBTQ human rights and inclusion. And those are issues that are central to the work that I've done at the University of Kentucky and the work that I would continue to do on council. I believe that trans-inclusive healthcare benefits are essential. Our municipal employees need to be taken care of. And we've had other cities and organizations that have blazed a path. It's time for Lexington to follow. The same with conversion therapy. Recently in Louisville, conversion therapy was banned. In Lexington, we need to do the same. These are issues that have been central to my platform and to the type of work I would want to do on council. And I would work hard to push them forward.
Thank you so very much. Ms. Moller.
Yes, so in 1999, Lexington's Brave Council made Lexington the second city in Kentucky to ban discrimination against gays and lesbians in housing, employment, and accommodations. We had another terrific public turnout and support of same spousal benefits or same gender domestic partner spousal benefits in the city. And I think we need to continue on that same track. It just won't improve our economic competitiveness to provide everybody in our city with equal access to healthcare and benefits, but it makes the city a place worth living in. We failed to get that 100 specifically because of our lack of trans-inclusive benefits to public employees. And we have to make sure that we are creating ordinances to be gender inclusive and make sure that we are providing sufficient trans awareness training. And regarding the barbaric practice of conversion therapy, I would 100% get rid of it immediately. It should be a state policy, statewide.
Thank you so much. You will also take this question first, excuse me. So the impact of COVID-19 on the city and local businesses will be and already has been significant and long lasting. What would you do as a council member to support the recovery and foster resilience?
Well, you know, Kentucky and LFUCG respond to as we respond to the repercussions of COVID-19, we do need guidance and support from Washington, and direct financial support and expanded employment protections for workers will reduce our long-term impact. Until we get that, and maybe we won't again, I will work diligently to provide protections for our vulnerable communities, such as allocating emergency funds for rent abatement and rent assistance, freezing evictions and utility shutoff, and addressing housing conditions that do not allow for safe shelter in place. These are all in the interest of public safety. The more people without access to permanent housing, the more our entire community is at risk. I would also advocate to continue to apply for disaster relief funds, which can include extensive provisions for housing and at-risk populations. And Lexington also must ensure that our information on testing, public health, and relief is available in languages that are most spoken by our residents and the many families that have limitations with Wi-Fi access, home computers, literacy. We need to work with our nonprofits to make sure we're reaching as many people as possible.
Thank you so much. Ms. LeGris.
Could you repeat the question, please?
I sure can. The impact of COVID-19 on the city and local businesses will be significant and already has been and long lasting. What will you do as a council member to support their recovery and foster their resilience?
Thank you. As I mentioned in my very first answer, economic recovery and resilience are essential issues, and they're central to my platform because they take care of our people and our city and our city's funds. You know, local organizations are the first affected within our economy and service network, and they need all the support that we can give. I believe that we can do things like create a local business fund, leverage new regional partnerships to help us with economic opportunity, and of course, fully fund nonprofits within the LFUCG. I support strategic investments that will minimize burdens for local business owners and organizations. And if elected, I also want to work really hard to create policies that promote nonprofits, that recommend national service volunteers to help build capacity, and direct funds toward local organizations in a pointed way that'll help keep our people safe and housed and our economy supported and resilient.
Thank you. You will take this question first. The growth strategy of the 2018 comprehensive plan for Lexington especially targets infill in our redevelopment process. This can pose challenges to our neighborhoods, and many of Lexington's most vulnerable citizens make their homes there. How can they be protected from displacement?
You brought up a very important part. I think our comprehensive plan is a well-researched document, but infill and redevelopment plans are not always even. We have to make sure that we take care of our residents in the process of enacting our comprehensive plan. So when we're moving forward, I think that we have some opportunities to get a little more creative. We need to make sure that people are protected from eviction and that code enforcement is not predatory. We need to look to other cities like Washington, D.C., where they have the TOPA program, tenant opportunity to purchase program, so that people who've been renting for a long time get first right of refusal. We're going to have to work closely with our neighbors and neighborhood associations and our developers to make sure that our practices are equitable and to take care of our residents in the process. A committed city council person can help with that, being proactive and taking the best the residents into the conversation, especially those who are most vulnerable.
Thank you. Ms. Moller.
Hi, yes, so I support the goals in the plan that focus on building up instead of out. And one of my top priorities from the beginning has been ensuring that the conversation is geared towards smart and equitable growth. A challenge is incorporating the neighbors into these early stages of development. to make sure that we avoid the long, expensive process of defending our neighborhoods, which has happened time and time again. I think the key to solving this challenge is through community engagement, collaboration, and listening. And these are all approaches that will drive my decision-making on council. But as anything else, as you mentioned, once again, it's our communities who are the most vulnerable, who are the most likely to be displaced and to lose their homes. And so we must make sure that we are consistently enacting policies that protect affordable housing, that provide assistance with rent and mortgages, and that make sure we have a diverse economy or diverse neighborhoods socioeconomically, because that's what really makes this city thrive, as having as many different people from different places as possible.
Thank you. You will take this question first. What would you like to do as a council member for Lexington's children?
Well, I really appreciate this question. For one, I'm a mother of two, and so I've seen the impacts of COVID-19 and what it's like for working families who are having to make the decisions every day on whether they need to work or they need to stay home and take care of their children. And we haven't been taking care of our working families, and so making sure our parents and their children are prioritized is important. It's also been an inspiration for why I want to run. I work at the Carnegie Center. The children that we serve, 87% come from low-income families. I see the work that these families are putting in, that they're doing everything they can to give their kids a better shot, but the level that they start on is not even. And the policies and shortfalls of our government are one of the reasons I want to run for office, because no matter how great our programming is, these kids still aren't getting what they deserve. I also feel we need to put more attention and more hope into our youth who are Black and brown, the hopelessness that permeates through them because of policies that negatively impact them is heartbreaking, and they need to be a priority moving forward.
Thank you. Ms. LeGris.
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, I began my career running youth and family outreach programs at the Carnegie Center for Literacy and Learning, and I've worked in education ever since. As a career counselor, I think a lot about opportunity, especially economic opportunity. And when I think about taking care of our kids, I also think about education and access. I think that we have a lot of space to do better and to support the children in our community. And you know, some of that has to do with our environment as well, making sure that we take care of kind of climate-based initiatives, but I'm going to focus on education in this conversation. I think that we can work with entrepreneurs, with public-private partnerships, and with nonprofits like Believing in Forever, the Carnegie Center, Partners for Youth, to make sure that we have Youth Job Corps, to make sure that kids are exposed to more spaces for education and engagement, and that we support them from cradle to college all the way through. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You will actually take this question first. Especially with the advent of COVID-19 and all of our citizens being encouraged to spend more time outdoors, our parks and trails are more important than ever for our citizens, but in a very tight budget type of a situation, they can often fall by the wayside. What is your position on investing in public spaces for our citizens?
I know that parks have been incredibly important to me and so many other members of our community, to our families, to kids, and to people just needing to get outside. I think green space should be welcoming, it should be democratized, and that there should be opportunities for people from all different backgrounds to engage in our parks and our park systems in a way that's joyful and healthy. I think that as a council person, allocating funds to support our parks is incredibly important, and the programming within them as well. We have to make sure that kids from all different backgrounds and families from all different backgrounds can play and live and work and thrive, and green space is a huge part of that equation. So that would be my priority, and ideally getting more programming and more support for our park system. That's essential to me.
Thank you so much. Ms. Moller.
Yes, thank you so much for this question. You know, being sequestered and quarantined at home with 2 children really reminded me how thankful I am that I have a backyard lined with trees and gardens, but it also made my heart hurt for those families who don't. Our relationship with our environment starts the second we look out the window every morning, and every person deserves to have access to green space. Why we have these wonderful parks, I would always support them. This is a reprise and refuge for many families who don't have that space, but I also want to think outside the box. It's not just about supporting our big and established parks. It's trying to create and make green space in a corner, at the end of a street, wherever, you know, we have the opportunity to create what I call a pocket park. Gives more exposure for our families to have that interaction with environment. So Parks and Rec are doing an awesome job. I couldn't imagine Lexington without them. The only thing I would change is more green space and more funding, especially for our families who don't have personal access in their own yard.
Last question. Ms. Moller, you will take this first. Meaningful public participation is vital to responsive local government. What are 3 approaches that you would advocate for to make government process more accessible, equitable, and transparent?
You know, I definitely have seen as a working mother and somebody who doesn't always have the time to get down to city council, how challenging it can be to feel like you're an active participant. And then of course, COVID-19 has made that more challenging for everybody. So making sure we've done everything we can in this city to give people equitable access to online services, that the websites we provide are in multiple languages, that they have services that help those of our engaged citizens who have disabilities. These are all things that I would like to enact. The more we engage with our citizenry, the more we allow people access to government, the better representation we're going to have. And so in addition to the technological investments that I think our city needs to make, I also believe in holding as many public meetings and meeting constituents at their own table, because as I've seen directly at the Carnegie Center, transportation and mobility is also a great barrier for people.
Thank you so much. Ms. LeGris.
Thank you. I believe that public participation is essential to a functioning democracy. And I also think that COVID-19 has exacerbated some disparities within our community, and that we need to make sure that we are as accessible as possible. So getting out and connecting with people on a human level, figuring out who has been left out of the conversation and why, and how to connect with a wider range of constituents. You know, we can use technology as our friend in this process. And we've seen some of that in practice with figuring out new ways to gather public comment. We want government to be as transparent and accessible as possible. In my campaign and on the work that I do on the board of Civic Lex, that's central. Accessibility, connection, making sure vulnerable people are supported, and making sure that our government serves everyone. That's the work that I want to continue to do in council, and I know that we can do better.
Thank you so much. And that was the final question. So now we will turn to closing remarks. The candidates drew a second time for the order of closing remarks, and they will each have 60 seconds. They will go in this order: Jessica Moller, then Hannah LeGris. So, Ms. Moller, your closing comments.
Yes, thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting this important event. I believe that Lexington deserves civil servants who put people over profit and power, who understand and share the concerns faced by everyday people just like you. The pandemic has only compounded the economic insecurity of our residents and businesses. It is more important than ever that we elect leaders who prioritize affordable housing, offer solutions for our small businesses, support impactful policies for our working and middle-class families, and who are ready to fight for funding the nonprofits that serve our most vulnerable communities and root issues. Growth is inevitable, but it is only sustainable with an equitable framework in place. I'm running because I want to live in a city that serves everyone, and we can't do that until we have an even playing field. I will always prioritize working to make sure all of our city's population is served. I would be honored to earn your vote.
Thank you very much. Ms. LeGris.
Thank you. And thank you again to the League of Women Voters and to everyone who's participating online. I want you to know that I'm fully committed to the 3rd. I've been endorsed by former Mayor Jim Gray, former 3rd District Council member Deborah Hensley, Anita Courtney, and the Committee for Fairness and Individual Rights. But I'm here because I want to put my values and my work experience into practice for you. I want to work hard to locate real results that serve all members of our community. With you, I want to protect what's good in our city. I want to look toward a future that is built as a result of shared values and a vision for a better, more resilient Lexington. That means social justice, environmental sustainability, economic viability, and transparency and access. There's more information on my platform, which is www.hannahforcouncil.com is my website. I want to earn your vote this fall. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so very much. We'd like to thank both candidates for participating today. If you are interested in League membership, please do check out our website at lwvlexington.com. You can find more information about the candidates as well as information about changes in voting because of the COVID pandemic at the League's online voter guide at vote411.org. Please be sure to vote in the general election, and thank you so very much for joining us.